The Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Lots of stuff to get into today. Some blasphemy going on in the world of the NBA. I'll tell you what I'm talking about as the show progresses today. That's definitely one thing we shall get into. Patrick Mahomes, what he's been bringing to the table, the likes of which we haven't seen. That's something that's interesting to get into in and of itself, because who knows what that's going to turn into as well. Danny Dimes, a.k.a. Daniel Jones, somehow, some way has earned a nickname after just one game in the National Football League as a starting quarterback. All of a sudden, he's a savior. We could talk about that clearly as the show progresses today. But the first order of business, of course, is Thursday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles are scheduled to go up against the Green Bay Packers. Before I forget, there will be a discussion today on the topic of weed in the National Football League. Because evidently there's a lot of people out there that have a problem with my position on professional athletes using or engaging in cannabis, a.k.a. marijuana, for recreational purposes. Just for the record, I have no issue whatsoever with marijuana being used for medicinal purposes. Recreationally, that is something that we can definitely discuss and engage in dialogue about as the show progresses today. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. If you read the numerous articles that are out there today, it's about Thursday Night Football. It's about the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Lambeau Field to go up against the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football. After beating the Washington Redskins in the opener, the Eagles have dropped 2 straight to the Atlanta Falcons, who they would have beaten if Nelson Aguilar had caught that pass scampering down the left sideline, and the Detroit Lions. If this rookie, Whiteside, had caught his pass, they would have won that game. But nevertheless, the Eagles lost both games. They are 1-2 on the season. They are 2 games back of the first place Dallas Cowboys, who, by the way, have their own challenge coming up this Sunday in New Orleans against the Drew Brees-less New Orleans Saints, being led by Teddy Bridgewater since Drew Brees is out with that thumb injury. Now, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, Deshaun Jackson is out with an abdomen injury. Alshon Jeffrey has been out with the calf, but could be back. Tight end Dallas Goedert, he's out with a calf injury as well. They've already missed large chunks of the last 2 games. But both Jeffrey and Goddard are expected to play Thursday night. The Green Bay Packers, meanwhile, are undefeated. They've been one of the surprising teams in the National Football League, beating defending NFC champion, North champion, Bears, Chicago Bears. They've also beaten the Minnesota Vikings, two teams within their division. And they've also beaten Vic Fangio's Denver Broncos in their first year under new coach Matt LaFleur. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's make sure we understand something. And something really, really good. And if I sound a little bit hazy or whatever, my allergies are acting up, I apologize. That's how it goes sometimes, y'all. That's how it goes. When I look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're going up against these Packers, the Packers, for once under Aaron Rodgers, hasn't appeared to be that explosive. 286.7 yards per game. That's fifth worst in the league. They only scoring 19.3 points per game. That ranks 23rd. And all three offenses that the Eagles have faced thus far this season have been more prolific than them. But they don't have that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Washington, Atlanta, Detroit, they don't have Aaron Rodgers. And how long do you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to struggle? He's got a new coach. And along with having a new coach, let us please understand that Aaron Rodgers eventually going to figure it out. He's just trying to get along, y'all. I got news for you. He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. If you think for 1 second that any level of ineptitude that he may be putting on display at this particular moment in time is going to last, you need to get your head examined. Or you need to get a history lesson in who the hell Aaron Rodgers is and what he is all about. He's only completed 61% of his passes right now. 4 touchdowns. Notice he hasn't had an interception, though. He doesn't beat himself. He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. And while I'm willing to concede that times have changed, that Patrick Mahomes is that new dude on the block talent-wise, let's be very, very clear. Aaron Rodgers is something special. Still got Devontae Adams. Still got Geronimo Allison. Still has Scantling. He's Aaron freaking Rodgers. And I got news for you. You better pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you have to hope and pray beyond hope and prayer that Aaron Rodgers continues to struggle for week 4 of this NFL season. This week, we'll officially be 25% into the 2019 NFL season. Let me tell you something about these Philadelphia Eagles right now. I think Carson Wentz is getting too much heat and too much blame. Have you not seen the passes that the Eagles have dropped? Have you not seen it? It's Whiteside. It's you know, you just look at it. Him, Aguilar, fumbles all over. The Eagles have been a mess. I can't point the finger at Carson Wentz. I'm watching this brother fling the football. He's putting it right where it belongs. And cats ain't getting it done. Plain and simple. 11 dropped passes this season, most in the National Football League. That's what Carson Wentz has been suffering from. And we're going to sit up there and talk about his 61% completion percentage? Come on. It ain't his fault. Carson Wentz, when healthy, is a bad brother. He's something special. He can really, really play. And I really, really think that we got to look at this and just cut the guy a break. Because I really, really don't believe it's fair. I look at him right now and I'm saying, listen, the Eagles got to get it together. Because let me be very, very clear with what I'm about to say. If the Philadelphia Eagles lose tonight's game, there's no way in hell they're winning the NFC East. Now, obviously, a lot of it has to do with injury. When you look at the situation with Jackson going down, with Alshon Jeffrey going down, with Goddard going down, and both of them missing the vast majority of the last 2 games, both losses. That's a problem. So we can't ignore that. We really can't. There's no way around it. But nobody cares. The Dallas Cowboys haven't suffered that malady. Randall Cobb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, the offensive line. People talking about, oh my goodness, they're not blocking for Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. Excuse me. He holds on to the ball. He scrambles outside of the pocket. Chances are, in most instances, you got folks assuming that he done got rid of the football already. Could that have something to do with it? I think so. That's the way I look at it. So what's up with this notion, this belief that suddenly Carson Wentz don't know how to play quarterback? He holding on to the ball too long. They're not blocking for him. They don't want to play for him. I don't get that from the Philadelphia Eagles at all. They could have easily been 3-0 right now. It's not good that they lost to Atlanta. It's not good that they lost to Detroit. But let me tell you something. They could easily be 3-0 right now. But they are not. And meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys are rolling. And so if you're the Eagles, you got to take a stand right now. You got to look at your ninth-ranked offense. You got to say, we got to do something. Eagles are 29th against the pass. That is bad news for a secondary about to go up against Aaron Rodgers. I'm here to tell you. That is a problem. And I usually don't bet against my man Aaron Rodgers, but I'm hoping he loses tonight because I think his season will be just fine. It's the Eagles that are on the brink. And make no mistake about it, it's a brink because it's not too early. If they lose and the Dallas Cowboys win this Sunday against New Orleans, the Eagles are 3 games back. You combine that with the fact that you get 2 against Dallas, you'd have to win both. And then, oh, by the way, you'd still be a game back if you won both. This is urgent. And then when you scour the NFC, let's look at this. You got to have a division winner, right, that's automatically going to the playoffs. So whether it's New Orleans in the NFC South, the LA Rams in the West, let's say, for example, hypothetically, it would be Chicago in the North. And then you had Dallas. Well, your wild card spot, you're competing with Seattle, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Atlanta for the wild card spot at this particular moment in time. That's 4 different teams outside of yourself. 5 altogether. What do you think the Eagles' chances are getting in the playoffs under those conditions? I would say they're not very good. So it's incredibly imperative that the Philadelphia Eagles win tonight. You Miles Sanders can't be dropping the ball. Can't be dropping the ball, can't be fumbling the ball. I'd like to see Darren Sproles more involved, personally. Alshon Jeffrey, welcome back. Nelson Aguilar, no more dropped passes. Mac Hollins, no more dropped passes. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, no more dropped passes, damn it. It was 2 Sunday. And can we pray beyond prayer? That Deshaun Jackson will hurry up, get his butt back on that lineup. Because good God, do they need him. They really, really need Deshaun Jackson. They need that deep threat, creating space underneath for Zach Ertz. So the Philadelphia Eagles offense, devoid of a stout running game, by the way, there's no Ezekiel Elliott on their roster, can get back to doing what it does. Generating points through the air. That's what they need to do. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. That's one thing to get into. Here's another. It's time for the Dallas Cowboys to pay Dak Prescott. You see, as I watch Daniel Jones, I mean, John, did you know he got a nickname now? Danny Dimes. You know that? Danny Dimes. One game. Brother got a nickname. Reminds you of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? When my girl Molly Karam and everybody else was calling him Jimmy G. And then we saw that video of him in L.A. out with a porn star, so I called him Porn Star Jimmy. I like that nickname much, much better, by the way. So we have a situation where we look at and we fast forward to Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. Plays for the New York Giants, plays one game, comes out of Duke, drafted 6th overall, plays one game, throws over 300 yards, throws for 2 touchdowns, runs for 2 more. Clearly, an impressive showing, an impressive beginning, no doubt. We wish him nothing but luck, because the better the Giants is, the better football in the New York tri-state area is, and that's all good. But here is where we have a problem. So we want to rave about him and just bypass Dak Prescott, huh? We just want to look at Dak Prescott, who's completing better than 70% of his passes, who's undefeated, who's watched as Jalen Smith has gotten paid, La'el Collins has gotten paid, Ezekiel Elliott has gotten paid, all by Jerry Jones. But your starting QB, the successor to Tony Romo, who has not missed a single game or a single start in 51 tries in his 3 years and 3 games that he's been the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He shows up to work every day. He's a consummate professional every day. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's winning more games than he's losing. He's got you to the postseason twice. And he's in line to get a contract in the ballpark of about $130 to $140 million. Russell Wilson is the highest paid quarterback at $35 million. Ben Roethlisberger is number 2 this year at $34 million. Dak Prescott just quietly goes about the business of showing up, handling his business. And you going to send him out on the football field, Jerry and Stephen Jones, with $2 million? You going to do that to him? You know good and damn well he could get hurt this Sunday. You know good and damn well how violent of a sport football is. Ezekiel Elliott has gotten himself suspended. He's gotten himself in trouble. What happens? You still go out and pay him. La'el Collins was a member of that offensive line that looked suspect for you last year. You went out and paid him. And by the way, I have no problem with either of them getting paid. I would have paid both of them because I believe Ezekiel Elliott deserves it. La'el Collins deserves it. I got it. And you want to procrastinate with the wide receiver? That's predictable. It makes sense. That happens with wideouts in the National Football League. I get it. But your star quarterback, who is a star, who has been nothing but a consummate professional and a model citizen for your franchise for the last 3 years and 3 games, Dak Prescott, leading candidate for league MVP honors. Only reason. And y'all gonna just sit here and ignore this brother like this. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. You stinking low-life Cowboy fans. Y'all make me sick. All this bloviated about everything Cowboys. We them boys. We making noise. But when it comes to Dak Prescott, you quiet. Quiet as a mouse. Won't even come to his defense. I got some of you stinking no good Cowboy fans calling up to this show. I don't know about Dak, man. I mean, I don't know about him, I mean, he all right. He all right, Stephen A. But, I just don't know if he that dude. I just don't know if he the one. Never mind that he had Scott Linehan. Never mind that there was no Amari Cooper. Never mind that he had Cole Beasley as a slot receiver instead of Randall Cobb, even though Cole Beasley is actually doing a good job in Buffalo right now, who's also undefeated. Never mind all of that. Oh, no, Stephen A. I mean, come on, dog. I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on. Oh, shut up. Y'all are pathetic. There's one of the reasons why you ain't going to win. I'm trying to tell you something right now. This is football. It's incredibly violent. You don't send your star quarterback out there wondering about his contract when he's been the model of consistency that Dak Prescott has been for this franchise. I like Jerry Jones. That's my buddy. Stephen Jones, I like him too. In the offseason, we going to go out for a drink or something. I like those guys. But I disagree with them here. All joking aside, you don't wait to pay Dak. You got to pay him now. He should have been paid before Ezekiel Elliott. He really should have. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We'll get to your phone calls. Got a lot of stuff coming on. My man Sal Palantonio, NFL reporter extraordinaire. He'll be calling to talk to us about the Eagles, who he covers religiously. Lives right outside of Philadelphia. He's synonymous with the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. So there's a lot to talk to him about. Plus, I'm going to get into the subject of weed in the National Football League, particularly after some of the very, very revealing and candid things that Megatron himself, Charles Johnson, formerly of the Detroit Lions, now retired, revealed about the NFL and his drug policy. You do not want to miss that. So stick around. Don't touch that dial. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, by now you've probably heard me talk about my computer career and think, nope, not me. I don't know the first thing about computers. Well, that's okay. You don't have to. Before they started, many of their graduates could turn a computer on and off. And that's it. Now they're IT professionals. And you can do it too. Go to my computer career. Ramsey announced a couple of weeks ago he wanted to get traded. He thought that they would trade him after last week's Thursday night encounter. So did almost everybody else, which is why our very own Adam Schefter went on Sunday's NFL Countdown and reported, or actually even before that, would get up and stuff like that during the week. He actually reported that there was a particular team that called the league office to inquire if we were to acquire Jalen Ramsey after Thursday, could he still play Sunday? And the NFL had to inform them, you're only allowed to play one game a week. That's how serious folks were about getting him. That's how serious the Jacksonville Jaguars evidently were about moving him. Jalen Ramsey could have sat out that game, that Thursday night game against Tennessee. He could have sat out that game. He could have refused to show up and practice or play. He could have done all of that. But considering the late notice and how things were going, what did Jalen Ramsey do? He still went out on that field for Thursday night's game and balled. He still showed up. Now, I'm not trying to act like there wasn't an obligation to some degree. You are getting paid. You are under contract. You are the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What I'm saying is he could have screwed them over. He didn't do that. He did not do that. He showed up on the field, and balled, thinking it was going to be his last game as a Jacksonville Jaguar. This is the NFL. He easily could have got hurt. He could have suffered a season-ending injury. Remember what happened to Earl Thomas last year in Seattle? Remember why he looked over at Steve Carroll and threw up his middle finger? Remember that? Because he wanted his money. The Seahawks wouldn't pay him. He obviously felt Pete Carroll had a lot to do with that. They wanted him to step out on the field and play out his deal, and he got hurt. Season was over.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
ESPN News. If you missed any of my opening segment, go check it out on demand. And the Stephen A. Smith Podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quicksilver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every single purchase everywhere. Hey! What's in your wallet? 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Sal Palantonio, NFL reporter extraordinaire for ESPN, but especially when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll be on with us to start off hour number 2. Don't miss it. Don't miss my man, Sal Pal. Sal Pal. You know you the man when that's all anybody got to say. Sal Pal. There's only one Sal Pal, John. There's nobody else in the country that's known as Sal Pal. There's only one. My brother. Let's go to the phones. Let's go, Brandon. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A. On the Dak Prescott issue earlier, I agree with everything you said.
You're damn right you do.
And let me tell you how Daniel Jones is going to help that man get paid.
Go ahead.
All Dak has to do is in October, after they beat the Jets, and they go up against the Eagles the next week, right before the bye week, he goes to Jerry Jones' office and say, look, man, I want to get paid. Until you pay me, I'm going to sit out. They lose to the Eagles. They go to a bye week. Jerry Jones still doesn't pay the man. They come out and lose in New York to Daniel Jones. Dak's going to have him by the good ones. And
Stop. Can I tell you what I have a problem with, Brandon? Can I tell you what I have a problem with what you're telling me? So you're trying to tell me that a man that has played every single, all 52, or 51 rather, every single game he was eligible to play, he hasn't missed a game. He's been an All-Pro twice. He's been to the postseason twice. He's been an absolutely model citizen. He's been a quintessential leader. He succeeded the adopted son, that is Tony Romo, in the process. He has done absolutely nothing to let the Cowboys down. They pay Jalen Smith. They pay La'el Collins. They pay Ezekiel Elliott. They do all these things. And you're telling me all this guy has to do is play another month when you know one play can end your season? Is that fair?
I do.
Is that fair?
It is not fair. But all I'm saying is if he does it this way and he can play until that bye week and not get hurt, I believe he can get Jerry Jones to pay him more than $40 million a year.
But my point is, even if he were able to pull that off, you understand that what you're asking him to do is subject himself to more risk while you sit around and enjoy his exploits when you took care of everybody else. That's just not right. And it's even more egregious when you take into account the fact that it's your quarterback that you're doing it to. Listen, Jerry Jones didn't do this to Troy Aikman. Jerry Jones didn't do this to Tony Romo. But you're doing it to Dak Prescott. I don't like that, Brendan. I don't like it. I got to go.
I don't like it either, but, yep.
I got you. I appreciate the call. Thank you very, very much. Let's go to Greg. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Greg?
Stephen A.
Talk to me.
Hello?
Yeah, you right here. You live on the air, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it was you. I was Stephen A. Jerry Jones is going to take care of Dak Prescott. Bottom line, he's not stupid. He's going to take care of him. He's going to take care of him before the season is over.
Stop right there. Stop right there. I never said he wasn't. What I'm saying is it's not right that he has to wait this long. That's my argument. That's not fair.
You say honor the contract, and in another minute you say it's not right.
Hold on. When did I say? Wait a minute. When did I talk about honoring the contract? Tell me in what context. Don't just throw that line out there. What context did I use that at? Could it be that I was talking about Ezekiel Elliott?
What do you say?
I said, could it be that I was talking about Ezekiel Elliott?
Ezekiel Elliott is the heart and soul of the team.
No. That's not what I said. I'm asking you, when you quoted me in terms of honoring the contract, who was I talking about?
You were talking about, I was talking about in general. I never said you said it. I said in general.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were quoting me and saying that I said it. Okay, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
No. In general, people say you need to honor the contract. Okay. The bottom line is that Jerry Jones is not stupid, and he's going to take care of Dak Prescott.
Well, let me ask you a question. Greg. I know he's going to take. I know he's going to take care of Dak, but I'm asking you a question again. If you took care of La'el Collins, Jalen Smith, Ezekiel Elliott, is it fair, Greg, that he's got Dak Prescott waiting, making $2 million a year, going out there game after game after game, standing in a pocket as the star quarterback for your franchise? Is that fair?
Is that fair? No, I wouldn't say that it's fair now, but let me ask you this. Are you in their office with them? Are you in the conversations between Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so it's not fair for you to just put it out there and try to disrupt what they have going on.
Time out. That's the dumbest comment I've ever heard in my life. Number one, I host a damn radio show and a damn television show. What the hell are you talking about? It's my job to talk about this. So that's number one. Number two, it ain't about putting anything out there. I'm making the point. Reality states Dak Prescott walks out onto the field every single week under a contract that's paying him $2 million. When you got cats around you getting paid an exorbitant amount of dollars more than that, and they ain't the star quarterback of the franchise. That's my point. What's wrong with that? Especially when you just watch Jared Goff and Carson Wentz get paid. How's that possible?
Obviously, Dak Prescott is fine with it because he's.
But you know what? You know what? Bye. That's just a stupid comment. I will not entertain that level of stupidity. Oh, obviously, Dak Prescott's fine. What's he supposed to do? Walk off the field and not play? And then who's your backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys? You want to ruin your Super Bowl chances while he's under a rookie deal? We understand that. You want to call up here and be Captain Obvious? Call another damn show with that. We ain't getting in that. We ain't getting in all of that. The point is, you pay your quarterback. You prioritize paying your quarterback. You can talk about Ezekiel Elliott all you want to. I got news for y'all. Do y'all know that Ezekiel Elliott can run for 2,000 yards this season? And you'd still have a better chance of winning if your quarterback produces than if your running back produces. Did you know that? Tony, go ahead. Tony, go ahead.
I am absolutely in a quandary with the two callers that were before me, and I disagree with both of them. And in regards to the Cowboys and Dax, I concur with everything you've said. Everyone can think all they want about, oh, okay, all he has to do is play this season. Really, they need to get their heads out of their nook and crannies. I would say it another way, but that's okay. All it takes is one play for him to get injured. So for people to sit back and say, oh, yeah, that's all he has to do is play one more season, I disagree. Switching subjects and players. Gruden, our coach.
John Gruden or Jay Gruden? Remember, there are two Grudens coaching in the NFL.
I know.
Which one are you talking about?
And you're absolutely right. Jay Gruden he's opened the gates in Oakland. And forgive me if I'm not talking about the right coach because of the fact that they're brothers. But I knew this from last season and the season before when I looked at the team and the way they were playing, and I said, okay, he's putting together something, and he's about to absolutely open the gates.
All right, Tony, I need you to hurry up because I got to go to a hard break. You got 30 seconds to make your point, sweetheart.
Okay. Eagles, I concur with you on that. They should be 3-0. In regards to Dax, Jerry Jones needs to stop collecting dust. I'm done with that.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate the call. Feel free to call back anytime. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls to close out the hour before Sal Palantonio comes on to jumpstart hour number 2 in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Congratulations to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, rookie quarterback for the New York Giants, came on the scene, first career start, last week against Tampa, this past Sunday to be exact. Lights out performance by him, threw for over 300 yards, threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 more touchdowns. Spectacular performance on his part for a rookie in his first NFL game. No question about it. Can't deny it. Got to give props where it's due. He deserves all the credit in the world. All I'm trying to say is it's one game. It's one game. Just one. And when I look at this guy, I got to tell you, I want to see him as the season progresses. I want to see what he does. When we really look at Daniel Jones, if we're being totally honest, his placement of the football was great. Some of the passes he threw was absolutely great. Evan Ingram reminded us that even though he's a tight end, he's got wide out speed. Sterling Shepard didn't look bad either. We get all of that. There's no Odell Beckham Jr. there, but it's not like the Giants don't have anybody that can make plays if you put him in the right situation. And Daniel Jones standing in the pocket, flinging that football, sort of got reminded of the fact that the guy's been a college quarterback for 3 full seasons, whereas Dwayne Haskins was only a quarterback for 1 full season. You get reminded of all those things. You look at his size, his ability to see over the line of scrimmage, reading through his progressions, throwing the ball in the right places. All of those things. He deserves a lot of credit. But the biggest thing Daniel Jones deserves so much credit for is because he's done something we haven't seen a Giants quarterback do in the last 14 years, and that's run with the football. Because that's what Daniel Jones can do. He can run with the football. And that makes him formidable. That makes him impressive. That makes him somebody that we simply cannot ignore. All of those things are absolutely, positively true. Absolutely. But there's a flip side. When you sit up there and you talk about him, and you talk about him in the ways that some of my colleagues are talking about him, Ryan Clark reminded us, he said in August, start him.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
ESPN News is being brought to you live from above Pier 17, South Street, Seaport, presented by Chase. Also, the Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by new Shell V-Power Nitro, plus premium gasoline. Now with 4 levels of defense against gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Michael. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Michael, go.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
I'm all right. You only got a minute. Go ahead.
Absolutely, sir. With the looming quarterback change with the Washington Redskins, should they go ahead and make the change now and get Dwayne Haskins in on Sunday so they can have they can have the Dwayne? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Case Keenum is a perennial backup, even though he's completing 69% of his passes. Listen, here's the deal. Jay Gruden clearly believes that gives him the best chance to win. That's what Jay Gruden does because he's looking at how serviceable Case Keenum is. My flip side is you've been losing with him. And at some point in time, what if you put Haskins in there and Haskins really shined? You might look good and get some kudos from Daniel Snyder for that.
Terry McLaurin hookup is automatic. I think we'll have 2 big bombs if we can get him into play. So I appreciate your input, sir.
Listen, man, I like Case Keenum. And Case Keenum did a hell of a job when he was the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, and they went to the NFC Championship game where they lost to the Eagles a couple of years ago. But the bottom line is Case Keenum has been a perennial journeyman and a backup pretty much for the most part. He ain't the answer. We all know it. And when Daniel Jones performs the way that he did, and he threw 52 touchdowns in his career at Duke, Haskins going out for the Ohio State and throwing 50 touchdowns in one season is something that warrants consideration. Now, he can't run like Daniel Jones. But he could damn sure throw like him, arguably in some people's eyes, if not better. It's worth consideration. I mean, if you're the Washington Redskins at this point, what the hell do you have to lose? Everything in the nation's capital right now is up in a frenzy. Is there a reprieve in sight? Maybe Sal Palantonio will tell us. He's up next.
I'm going to make the change.
Coast The Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
Here with you over the airways of ESPN Radio and ESPN News, 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you. Plus ESPN Radio and Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Protecting your small business is a big deal. Cover what you've worked so hard for. Visit progressivecommercial.com. Any minute now, we'll be having NFL reporter extraordinaire for ESPN, the one and only Sal Palantonio. He'll be on with us any minute now. We're waiting for him to get on the line with us to talk about Thursday night's encounter tonight. The Philadelphia Eagles visit Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin to go up against the Green Bay Packers. Looking forward to that. Carson Wentz versus Aaron Rodgers. What else is there to talk about? Doesn't get much better than that, unless, of course, you take into account what we're seeing from the Packers defense. Number 2 ranked defense in the NFL in points allowed, 13th in yards allowed, number 5 against the pass, 25th against the run. That's a vulnerability against most, not necessarily the Philadelphia Eagles, because they don't run the football that much, because they don't have any star caliber running backs. And as a result, they have been hampered, a bit limited to some degree. Make no mistake about that. But when you look at the Green Bay Packers defense right now, you've got Blake Martinez as their leading tackler. Kevin King is not far behind. You got Preston Smith that's got 4.5 sacks. Zadarius Smith, who they acquired in the offseason, he's got 3 sacks on the season. 12 sacks overall on the season so far, one of the tops in the National Football League. So you got to pay attention to all of that right now. They can get to the quarterback. They've shown an ability to get to the quarterback for this particular moment in time. Can't ignore that. Can't ignore that from the Green Bay Packers at all. So we got to keep our if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you got to keep your fingers crossed. Your season's on the line. I don't give a damn what anybody say. When we look at the Philadelphia Eagles right now, as things presently stand, there is no getting around the fact that if the Eagles lose tonight, and the Dallas Cowboys go into New Orleans and beat Teddy Bridgewater and the New Orleans Saints, chances are the Eagles have little to no chance to capture the NFC East crown, which means there'll be a wild card spot potentially competing with the likes of Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, New Orleans or Atlanta, LA or Seattle. You're talking about an additional 4 teams you're going to be competing for that wild card spot. That's what you're talking about here. There's no way around it. We can slice it any way we want to. That's what it comes down to. This is an absolute must game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Period. It's a must win. They don't get today's game, tonight's game. That's what it is. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before Sal Palantonio, once he's on the line with us, I will make sure to put him right on the line. But until we get him on the line, I'm going to go back to the calls for you. Let's go to Eric. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., how's it going, man? I agree with you completely. The Eagles have a must-win game here if they wanted to win the division. But I got to say, I think it's already out of hand. The Cowboys are looking good this year. To me, they seem like a division champ waiting
Stop right
to
there.
happen.
Stop right there. I understand the Cowboys are looking good. Who do they beat this season?
They beat Tampa, Washington, and New York.
Okay. And you were saying?
Well, the fact that they
First of all, they opened the season. First of all, they opened the season against the Giants. Then, who was game number 2 against?
Game number 2 was against Miami.
That's right.
Giants and then Miami.
The Giants and then Miami. And so all I'm saying to you is this. Look at this schedule. Are we sure that you're ready to bloviate about the Cowboys the way that you're doing right now? Are we sure about that?
Well, I mean, I hear you talking about how they're an accident waiting to happen, but honestly, that Steelers franchise to me,
but it's awful. I mean, it's
on Killer Bees and on their record.
Hold on, wait a minute,
now.
wait a minute. You haven't heard me raving about. I said I'm a fan. You haven't heard me raving about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know how they look.
Yeah.
I know how awful they've been. And oh, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys did not beat Tampa. They opened the season, they beat the Giants, then they beat the Redskins,
Washington,
then they beat the Dolphins. Excuse me,
right.
This is the first real team they've gone against, some would argue, because they went against the Giants and Eli. They went against the Redskins and Case Keenum. And don't get me started with Miami. This is their first real test of this season. You understand that, right?
Oh, yeah. Miami does not look like a good team. But, hey, I mean, the Steelers are having a little bit more trouble than the Cowboys. They're looking like an accident waiting to happen. First of all,
I'm going to hang up on you. If you don't shut up, I'm going to hang up on you. It's my show. It's not your show. Okay? And I keep telling you, the Steelers are done. They're awful. Antonio Brown's gone. Le'Veon Bell's gone. Big Ben Roethlisberger. The 3 Bs. The killer bees. They're all gone for the season. And in 2 cases, forever. It's over. So there's no reason to bring up the Steelers. None whatsoever, because I ain't saying anything about them. Because I know right now they don't look good. Have a nice day. Jordan, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead. Jordan, are you there?
Hey, how you doing, Stephen A?
I'm all right. Go ahead, man.
All right, just wanted to say I love you, man, and I just think that you're putting a lot of disrespect on the 49ers right now. Not saying that they're.
You mean porn star Jimmy? I'm not giving porn star Jimmy enough respect.
Yeah, you're not. You keep bringing up, this is a must-win game for the Eagles. I get it, but the 49ers are 3-0, man. Like, got to give them a lot of respect.
Hey, listen. What you gonna do? Call up? What you gonna call up next and tell me I need to give the Buffalo Bills respect too? They're 3-0. That what you gonna tell me next?
I think, hell yeah, you got to give every team a 3-0.
I don't have to do a damn thing but stay black and die. I don't give a damn what you're talking about. I don't feel that way. The fact of the matter is, look, I look at the 49ers. They should have lost that game to Pittsburgh personally with a backup quarterback in Mr. Rudolph. All right? But that ain't what's happening right now. But I give respect where respect is due. I see what the 49ers are doing right now. They beating Tampa. They beating Cincinnati. They beating Pittsburgh. I get it. I understand it. I see what they're doing. 5th-ranked offense. I get it. 4th-ranked rushing attack. Defense is impressive enough. Top 10 defense. Top 10 against the run and the pass. And definitely number 2 in yards allowed. I got to give respect where respect is due. And Jimmy Garoppolo, a.k.a. Jimmy G, a.k.a. porn star Jimmy, is completing 69% of his passes. 5 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Relatively pedestrian, but it is what it is. You complete 69% of your passes. I'm going to give you some respect. I like Breida and Mostert. They're running the football effectively. I give credit where credit is due. And I am a big-time George Kittle fan. I think he can ball, period. But this kid, Deebo Samuel, has been impressive as well. And, of course, they got Marcus Goodwin. So I get it.
Deserves to get his money. But should he be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the land?
Well, let me ask you this question. When Kirk Cousins got $28 million a year and he was one of the highest paid quarterbacks, what did you say?
He didn't deserve it either.
I understand that, but didn't he get what the market allowed? Aren't we different? Aren't we living in a different time? Aren't we living in a time where you look at certain things, certain situations, and we recognize and notice the fact that because of the money that's out there with the increases in the cap, et cetera, that we're just living in a different age. And because we're living in that different age, you got guys that are getting paid.
Oh, yes, I agree. We're living a different age.
All right, so what's the problem?
But, well, just like baseball, they get the $300 million, but they go out there and they fall on their face.
Well, wait a minute. Well, time out. Who fell on their face? Who's the $300 million man? Bryce Harper? Who?
Yeah, one of them was, I think, Bryce Harper.
Right.
Somebody played out there in the Angels, I believe, or something.
No. You talk about Mike Trout, who's being paid over $400 million. And, oh, by the way, he's worth every damn penny. Mike Trout is worth every damn penny. Every penny.
Yes, he is. He's performed very well.
Manny Machado. Hold on. Manny Machado this year, 252, 30 homers, 82 RBIs. That's not worth $300 million plus. I'll give you that. But I think Bryce Harper got over 100 RBIs, got 34, 35 home runs. Hasn't been spectacular, but I think that, he earned his money this year. I'd say that.
Yes, he did. I agree. But my question is, if they don't perform, they get these big multi-million-dollar contracts. If they don't perform after they get them, should the contract be reciprocal?
Well, here's my problem. Hold on, Dale. The reason why you're so wrong in bringing up that question is because of the sport you're talking about. In football, you got guys that sign a contract, and then all of a sudden it's only the signing bonus that's guaranteed. They got a right to come to you to restructure your deal, to cut you, to waive you, etc. Now, if this were basketball or baseball, where pretty much most of your contracts are guaranteed, you'd have a different kind of argument. But in the sport of football, they actually do exactly what you just said. They come to you to try and cut your salary. They come to you to cut your period so you don't count as much against the cap and all of this other stuff. They do that all the time.
Okay, I understand. I'll agree with that. That'd be fine. But I mean, just to go out there, you get them, and get these big contracts, then you fall on your face.
Well, again, then in football, it's not applicable, sir. In football, it's not applicable because football. Listen, even when you do perform, they're asking you to restructure your deal. Do you realize that Tom Brady has never been the highest paid player in football? Did you realize that?
Yeah, I understand that. It was another thing I was thinking about. Why isn't he the highest?
Because he allows the Patriots to sit up there and curb their spending when it comes to him so they could utilize those resources to help put a team around him so they can win because the NFL has a hard cap. I got to go, though, Dale. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Derek. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, D?
Well, hello, Stephen A.
How you doing?
Derek, long-time fan, second-time caller.
Go ahead. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
And I'm a die-hard Patriot fan, and I'm thinking about Antonio Brown. I listened to what you were saying about the first take about Antonio Brown that should be apologizing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. My personal opinion, that Antonio Brown should apologize to any team that he was signed to over this year, because like Oakland Raiders about the stupid thing.
Hold on, time. What do you say? You saying Antonio Brown should apologize?
Yes, Antonio Brown should apologize to like the coach,
John Gruden, GM Mike Mayock in Oakland. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you.
And Bill Belichick, all the media headache he's been doing all the years, like that's why that Sunday, like he went after he released Antonio Brown. The media is like hard getting the Bill Belichick a headache about saying about the question about Antonio Brown.
I got you. I have to interrupt because I got to go, and I appreciate the call. But you're absolutely right. We don't disagree. I get your point, and I appreciate the call. Thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let's go to AJ. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. I just wanted to know why, like, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan. I mean, everything you talk about, I think you're really funny, but how you hate the Cowboys, it just gets under my skin.
No, I can't stand Cowboy fans, not the Cowboys.
But exactly why? I think is because you know how good the Cowboys actually are.
Stop right there. You're going to have the audacity to call up today and say that? Where the hell have you been the last 24 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Answer the question. Where have you been the last 24 Years. Because don't tell me you're just getting on me because of what I just said in the last week or in the last month. When you talk about me hating on Cowboy fans, this is stuff that has spanned years. So why is it that I'm hearing from you now?
I've been listening to you for years, and it's just I think you're a legend. But
no. So why did you call up years ago with that? Why did you call up years ago when you stunk? And you weren't winning anything, and you were a walking piece of mediocrity, and going 8. How come you didn't call up then?
Tony Romo has like Hall of Fame numbers. You and me both know. Anyone that's been watching for 24.
Goodbye. I'm not listening. You don't get to do that. You don't get to call up on my show and ignore my questions. You don't get to do that. See how quick you got a dial tone? And I'm happy I did that to you because you're a Cowboy fan. You deserve to hear a dial tone when you get on my damn nerves, which is relatively easy for Cowboy fans to do, just in case you didn't know. Let's go to Cam. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hi, this is Cam. So I'm just want to say the Cowboys, I think they're overrated, perfectly honest with you.
I'm not going to say that about the Cowboys this year. They're not overrated this year. They're legit this year. That defense is real. Cowboys defense is real. The previous caller and his annoying tendencies notwithstanding, the Dallas Cowboys defense is real. And that means they're not overrated.
I agree with that. I mean, I really don't think they should have paid Ezekiel Elliott all that money if they're not going to pay Dak Prescott.
They are going to pay Dak Prescott. I just think they should have paid Dak Prescott first.
Absolutely. I think the Eagles have a solid chance at winning the NFC East.
They got to win tonight. If they lose tonight, rather, and the Cowboys win Sunday in New Orleans, you think the Eagles can overcome a 3-game deficit and capture the NFC East?
Absolutely. I don't see why not. They got Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, Carson Wentz, a quarterback, Miles Sanders. They got all the tools.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Hopefully when we get back, Sal Palantonio will be on the line with us. Has some difficulties catching up with him. I think we've successfully pulled that off. Let's hope so anyway. We'll see. Until then, you're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set of screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why more than 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. That's Indeed.com/hire. Jalen Ramsey announced a couple of weeks ago he wanted to get traded. He thought that they would trade him after last week's Thursday night encounter. So did almost everybody else, which is why our very own Adam Schefter went on Sunday's NFL Countdown and reported, or actually even before that, would get up and stuff like that during the week. He actually reported that there was a particular team that called the league office to inquire if we were to acquire Jalen Ramsey after Thursday, could he still play Sunday? And the NFL had to inform them, you're only allowed to play 1 game a week. That's how serious folks were about getting him. That's how serious the Jacksonville Jaguars evidently were about moving him. Jalen Ramsey could have sat out that game, that Thursday night game against Tennessee. He could have sat out that game. He could have refused to show up and practice or play. He could have done all of that. But considering the late notice and how things were going, what did Jalen Ramsey do? He still went out on that field for Thursday night's game and balled. He still showed up. Now, I'm not trying to act like there wasn't an obligation to some degree. You are getting paid. You are under contract. You are the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What I'm saying is he could have screwed them over. He didn't do that. He did not do that. He showed up on the field and balled, thinking it was going to be his last game as a Jacksonville Jaguar. This is the NFL. He easily could have got hurt. He could have suffered a season-ending injury. Remember what happened to Earl Thomas last year in Seattle? Remember why he looked at over at Steve Carroll and threw up his middle finger? Remember that? Because he wanted his money, the Seahawks wouldn't pay him. He obviously felt Pete Carroll had a lot to do with that. They wanted him to step out on the field and play out his deal, and he got hurt. Season was over.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Concerts and games to the hottest theater shows and more. Vivid Seats has it all. Download the app and join the Vivid Seats Rewards loyalty program today, as advertised. One of the great NFL reporters we have ever seen, working for the worldwide leader, my brother, my buddy, the one and only, Sal Powell himself. There's only one, ladies and gentlemen, Sal Paolantonio. What's going on, big time? How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, Stephen A. It's so great to join your show. Thank you very much.
It's always great talking to you. Sal, what the hell is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, man? Put it in perspective, and if anybody would know, it would be you.
Well, I think three things. You had injuries at the wide receiver position, not an excuse, but you had inexperienced players that didn't make plays. If you're on a 53-man roster in the National Football League, you need to catch the football. That's first and foremost. And you need not to turn the football over. Everybody knows Miles Sanders had a fumbling problem at Penn State. Well advertised. It hasn't been corrected, and that's a major issue because he is the guy they have chosen be the bell cow back. And you need one if you're going to keep Carson Wentz healthy and whole and upright for 16 games. But suddenly he has become very, very problematic with the ball, and that's a big issue. So they'll get Alshon Jeffrey back tonight, and that's an important addition. He'll calm things down a little bit. I'll tell you this, Stephen A. If the Eagles do not turn the football over tonight, I think they can win the football game. I think they can win.
But you're worried that they won't be able to avoid turning over the football, particularly going against this Packers defense. Is that correct?
Well, I love what Mike Pettin has done with the defense. And everybody plays defense differently, but Pettin's DNA is right out of Baltimore, right out of Rex Ryan. What you're seeing on multiple fronts and multiple coverages behind it. They have a terrific young safety, a rookie, Darnell Savage. He has become, I don't want to use this term loosely, but he has become the Ed Reed of this defense. He's an extremely smart young man, an extremely tough young man. Pettin has put a lot of trust in him. After 3 games, they're giving up 11 points per game. So, they're doing things correctly. As far as the Eagles are concerned, defensively tonight without Ronald Darby, I don't know what Jim Schwartz is going to do. I have a recommendation for him.
You faded for a second. You said you don't know what Jim Schwartz is going to do, and then you faded, Sal.
I think I have a recommendation for him, Stephen.
All right, what's the recommendation? What's the recommendation?
I think he's got to play deep. I think he's got to don't worry about Aaron Rodgers holding the football because eventually the rush will get there. You've got to play deep and keep everything in front of you. Don't let him get the lightsaber out and carve you up like Obi-Wan Kenobi, which he can and will do. So don't be afraid to allow him to hold the ball, become impatient, as he is wont to do sometimes, but keep the plays in front of you. Don't be giving up these big plays because they're going to be shorthanded in their secondary. Russell Douglas, he doesn't run well. Avonte Maddox, he's not as big as you would like. Sidney Jones has not lived up to the billing. So they have to keep the ball in front of them and don't turn it over offensively.
Sal Paolantonio right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I actually think that Carson Wentz has been taking too many hits. I'm talking about too much criticism. That's what I mean by that, Sal Powell. I find him scrambling out of the pocket, holding on the ball a little bit longer, trying to extend plays. I think the 61% completion percentage is a misnomer. Dudes have been dropping passes. They've got 11 drops on the season, which leads the NFL. I think those things are the things that we need to be talking about as opposed to the play of Carson Wentz. How have you felt watching Carson Wentz now compared to what you've seen his first 2 years in the National Football League?
Yeah, well, first of all, you and I could not agree more.
Mm-hmm.
Their drops are at a historic level. His drop rate percentage was 19.4% against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst drop rate he has ever suffered in his 4-year career, and the worst of an Eagles quarterback since 2006. Too many drops get your completion percentage down, and you have inexperienced wide receivers not getting open. They double-team Zach Ertz, but this is on the coaching staff a little bit too here now, Stephen A. You know Matt Patricia comes out of the Bill Belichick school. They're going to take away your best offensive option. That was Zach Ertz on Sunday. They double-teamed him. He was not a factor for more than half the game. And that forced him to throw to guys who were not open and inexperienced and who dropped it. So it's definitely not Carson Wentz's fault. He's holding on to the ball for a reason. Now, in the Atlanta game, which I covered on Sunday Night Football, the offensive line of the Eagles was completely outmaneuvered by the games and the stunts that they played in Atlanta. And I just thought that they were not prepared at the beginning of that game for what the Atlanta defensive front sent their way. So I don't blame Carson Wentz, but I do blame the coaching staff for not allowing this team to be ready, especially in the first quarter, and especially not having an answer. Everybody knows Matt Patricia comes right out of the Bill Belichick DNA. You know what he's going to do. He beat Matt Patricia in the Super Bowl. So how could he not be ready?
Sal Palantonio right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Sal, what were you making when the reports came out months ago about the relationship that Carson Wentz had with his players compared to the relationship that Nick Foles had with those players? This is at a time when people were speculating, where do you go from here? Do you hold on to Nick Foles, let go of Carson Wentz? Do you hold on to Carson Wentz, let go of Nick Foles? Do you keep them both and just convince Nick Foles, you pay him and you overpay him for a backup knowing what he could mean to your franchise, but you still hold on to him anyway? What did you make of all the noise that was being made at that particular moment in time about Carson Wentz?
You know I'm closer to the team than anybody.
Yes, I do.
And that's a complicated question with a pretty complicated answer, but I'm going to boil it down to this.
Okay.
Carson Wentz is not Nick Foles. They're two different people. They handle their business differently. Carson Wentz is intense. He's in your face. He wants to improve and get better and do things his way all the time. Nick Foles is a guy who will let the game in life and on the football field come to him a little bit more. They're different personalities. So people who wanted Carson Wentz to be like Nick Foles, it's not going to happen. Some of the reporting about Carson Wentz being quote unquote, and here is the key word that was used, selfish, to me is inaccurate. I've never seen a more selfless person or player than Carson Wentz. He gives back to his teammates. He gives back to the community. He's coachable. Is he intense? Yes. Is he selfish? No.
And so with that being said, when people say stuff like the offensive line, if you watch them work and you see the way that they blocked for Nick Foles, but when it comes to Carson Wentz, they block differently. These are the kind of things, you've seen the kind of things that have been said. What's your response to that?
That's insanity. Here's the reason why they block differently for Nick Foles. They don't have to block for Nick Foles. Nick Foles gets the ball out of his hands in Tom Brady's neighborhood. The ball is out in 2.4 seconds. Nick Foles and Tom Brady and Drew Brees are 1, 2, and 3 in getting the ball snap to release out of your hands. That is how you stay employed as an offensive lineman, better than anything else. Oh, my quarterback's getting rid of it. I don't got to block for 2.5 seconds. Okay, I'm good. Carson Wentz is not in that neighborhood yet for a lot of different reasons. Not as many RPOs. He doesn't have that quick trigger release. He's had some injuries with his wide receiver, so the ball has to stay in his hands longer. There's lots of different reasons. Again, he's not Nick Foles. And so when people say, well, the offensive line did a better job, and of course, they did. The offensive line looks great. Nate Solder goes to the Giants. He doesn't look so good when Eli's holding the ball. Nate Solder's a world beater when he's Tom Brady getting rid of the football. Come on.
Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur trying to figure things out in Green Bay. What have you seen from their offense? How much of a problem do you anticipate they could be for the Eagles tonight on Thursday Night Football?
Well, they haven't been running the ball the way they would like to. They've had a lack of balance. You know, they have the fewest points scored of any division leader in the NFL right now. So if the Eagles, with Kamu Grugier-Hill coming back at linebacker, that will help them. If they can shut down the run, the whole game is going to be decided with Aaron Rodgers on third down with the ball in his hands. Okay? So if they can do a good job of getting him into third and long by shutting down the run and then keeping the play in front of him and allow him to hold on the ball until he becomes frustrated and makes a mistake, which is rare. I get that. It's rare. It's home. It's a big if, but the whole game will be decided. Don't give him a short field by turning the ball over. When he has the ball on third down in his hands, what is he doing with it? What's the down and distance? That's the game that Jim Schwartz has to play tonight at Lambeau Field.
Should we be looking a little bit more, since so many complaints have been aimed in the direction of Carson Wentz, obviously to a lesser degree, the defense in the secondary, and we understand that is about Jim Schwartz. But on the offensive side of the ball, the absence of a running game, seeing the level of success it's generated for the Dallas Cowboys, who clearly have a running game. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, although they're 2 years removed from winning a Super Bowl for the first time ever in its franchise history, considering what was said about them last year, considering what has been said about them thus far this year, when do we look at Doug Peterson?
Oh, I don't think we look at Doug Peterson for a while.
Okay.
So let's look at – I think that if you want to point any finger, I think you have to point it at the front office. The running back position, and here's the word I'm going to use, and I have used it before, has been mismanaged. Last year, the Eagles' running game was in Detroit. LeGarrette Blount. I don't know why they didn't keep LeGarrette Blount. It was only a couple of bucks, a couple of $1 million. It was easy to keep him. He was a great team leader, and he was a guy. They don't win the Super Bowl without LeGarrette Blount. They don't win the Super Bowl without LeGarrette Blount, and last year they missed him for so many reasons. On the field and off, in the locker room, he was important to them, and they let him go. Now, they traded for Jordan Howard, and Jordan Howard, everybody knows, is a north-south runner, and the Eagles have a zone blocking, zone run scheme, and they are not fitting together right now. So you go back and you watch them on film, and that's what we've been doing at the NFL Matchup Show with Greg Cosell and Matt Bowen, and I know you love the show.
Yes.
And you know, just looking at what the Eagles do offensively, there are holes to be had. There is daylight, but Jordan Howard's trying to figure out how to get there, maybe missing some things, doesn't have quite the vision laterally. That's why Miles Sanders, who has a little bit more juju in the hole, has a better jump cut, has shown his propensity to do that and the ability to do that and a history to do that Howard just doesn't have. He's just more of a sort north-south guy. It's not fitting right now. You know, you got to look at scheme. You got to look at fit. How does the talent fit into the scheme? Coaches coach against coaches. Coaches coach different players different ways. And if there's no fit there, then, you know, you're going to have a problem. And right now, you add it all up. Injuries to the wide receivers, offensive line not ready against Atlanta, running game not really helping out. You know, you've got no answer to Zach Ertz being double-teamed against the Detroit Lions. And you can't blame Carson Wentz for any of that.
So who you got winning tonight's game?
Listen, if the Eagles don't turn the ball over, they'll have a chance to win this game. But, you know, you're going into Green Bay. They don't lose in Green Bay on Thursday night. The Eagles have won in a short week under Doug Peterson. I was in that Eagles locker room, Stephen A., yesterday. That is an angry, embarrassed football team to a man. And I expect them to come out firing and hot tonight. Watch the first quarter. The whole game will be decided on third down, especially in the first quarter. If Aaron Rodgers is clicking in the first quarter and the Eagles don't have an answer, then this is a problem. But they cannot turn the football over and expect to win this game.
Sal Palatoni, always appreciate you, my buddy. Miss you, man. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy. The one and only Sal Palantonio right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY, ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with more in a minute to close out the show. Don't touch that dial. It's Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We all love a night out. Congratulations to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, rookie quarterback for the New York Giants, came on the scene, first career start last week against Tampa. This past Sunday, to be exact. Lights out performance by him. Threw for over 300 yards. Threw for 2 touchdowns. Ran for 2 more touchdowns. Spectacular performance on his part for a rookie in his first NFL game. No question about it. Can't deny it. Got to give props where it's due. He deserves all the credit in the world. All I'm trying to say is it's one game. It's one game. Just one. And when I look at this guy, I got to tell you, I want to see him as the season progresses. I want to see what he does. When we really look at Daniel Jones, if we're being totally honest, his placement of the football was great. Some of the passes he threw was absolutely great. Evan Ingram reminded us that even though he's a tight end, he's got wide out speed. Sterling Shepard didn't look bad either. We get all of that. There's no Odell Beckham Jr. there, but it's not like the Giants don't have anybody that can make plays if you put them in the right situation. And Daniel Jones standing in the pocket, flinging that football, sort of got reminded of the fact that the guy's been a college quarterback for 3 full seasons, whereas Dwayne Haskins was only a quarterback for 1 full season. You get reminded of all those things. You look at his size, his ability to see over the line of scrimmage, reading through his progressions, throwing the ball in the right places. All of those things. He deserves a lot of credit. But the biggest thing Daniel Jones deserves so much credit for is because he's done something we haven't seen a Giants quarterback do in the last 14 years, and that's run with the football. Because that's what Daniel Jones can do. He can run with the football. And that makes him formidable. That makes him impressive. That makes him somebody that we simply cannot ignore. All of those things are absolutely, positively true. Absolutely. But there's a flip side. When you sit up there and you talk about him, and you talk about him in the ways that some of my colleagues are talking about him, Ryan Clark reminded us, he said in August, start him.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
And in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quick Silver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? 48 minutes past hour number 2, back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I was going to get into weed in the National Football League because Calvin Johnson talked about the retired Megatron receiver that he was for the Detroit Lions, talked about how he used medicinal marijuana every day. I just want to stay for the record. I don't have time to get into it. I will get into it tomorrow, but I'll say this. I've never been opposed to weed being used for medicinal purposes. My problem is with it being used for recreational purposes. My problem is for dudes who want to get all high showing up to work. They want to have that freedom. Shouldn't be an issue. I'd be allowed to smoke some weed anytime. What's wrong with puffing and passing, Stephen A? What's wrong with it? You know what? Could you imagine? Somebody sitting up there and they engage in a recreational use. They shut up a press conference. They cool. Yeah, you know, it's all right. You know. It's cool. It's all good. You threw 3 interceptions, damn it. Yeah, I understand that, Stephen A. But, you know, it happens. You'll be all right. Chill. Well, damn it, you lost the game. I know. It's just one game, though. You're messing with my spirit. It's just one game. It's going to be all right. Chill. But it's paying customers. 50, 60,000 damn people out there. They paid to come and watch you play. Millions are watching on television. What the hell you doing? Relax, Stephen A. Side. It's going to be cool. Don't even sweat it. Remember Lamar Odom? And I don't know this, but I think it's safe to say that he may have engaged in some usage along the way. Remember when they were at the finals and Kobe was ticked off because they had lost the game to Boston and Lamar Odom was like, we going back to the crib. Relax, it's going to be all right. We going back to the crib. Remember that? He was right, though. They did go back to the crib, and they did win. But I'm just saying, do you really, really want to see your athlete like that? Because that's what they talk about, if we being real. Everything ain't medicinal purposes. I ain't got no issue with that. But for recreational purposes, hell no. I don't want to see nobody high on the field or the court. I don't want to see that. That's just me. All you brothers out there, former athletes that's in the cannabis business, Al Harrington and the crew, I support y'all. Make that money. Y'all ain't playing. I'm good with that. It ain't costing you money. You making money. For those that it costs money to and still insist on using it, you a new damn fool. Good luck. Terry, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
Stephen A., I just wanted to say thanks for taking my call. I'm a huge fan of yours.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I know you're not going to be a huge fan of mine because I am a Dallas fan, but I did want to
hurry
say
up.
this.
Go ahead.
I haven't heard you say anything about the Cowboys that's wrong. Everything that you've said has been right. And I know you get a lot of flack from Cowboys fans, but you're speaking the truth. We really haven't played anybody, and we're going to have a test this week with the Saints for sure. But
you're lucky because you don't even have Drew Brees. You got Teddy Bridgewater. You should win this game.
Well,
if we're being honest.
I'm hoping that you're right, but Saints defense is still playing pretty good, and they still got Alvin Kamara over there.
That's true.
So
that's true. That's true. All right, I'll see you later, man. We'll talk more tomorrow. Junior, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Junior, go.
It's okay, Stephen. First and foremost, I respect you. You're the man on the air. But I think you feel a little bit uncomfortable. I think you always say that the Cowboys are just an accident waiting to happen. I think you stir in the pot. You see us fixing to turn that corner.
Man, you got 20 seconds. You got 20 seconds. Hurry up.
I think we're fixing to do it, and you kind of worried. Go ahead. I'll let you.
No, I think no. I think you got a chance. I think the Dallas Cowboys right now should be the top team in the NFC. Favored to go to the Super Bowl. My whole thing is annoyed as I am at the notion of having to listen to y'all up to that point, I'm loving the fact that y'all might lose the Super Bowl if you get there. And you're so close, and then your hopes plummet. That is the epitome of misery. That's what I'm wishing for y'all. I hope Dallas Cowboy fans, the only thing that makes me mad is y'all Christmas wouldn't be ruined. Your New Year would be. I'd love that too. Talk to you in 22 hours. Peace and love.